Now, we're ready to move on to the lesson plan. If you have a manual, if you have your Wilson manual, then you should find this page on page 14, and then for several pages after page 14, you'll have the details of the Wilson lesson plan, and that's what we'll be going through. This gives you just the big picture of the lesson plan. Okay? So if you don't have it in your manual, you can just look up here. The big picture of the lesson plan, there are 10 parts to the lesson plan. And the 10 parts, if I number these here, the first part, 1 through 5, the emphasis here is for decoding. So 1 through 5, and if you have just your booklets, you can put it along the margin there maybe, and just list that that's decoding. Part 6, 7, and 8 is encoding. What you teach for decoding, you turn around and then teach for encoding. And then parts 9 and 10, you're working on fluency and comprehension. In part 9, you do controlled passages and work with the controlled passage reading. The stories for older students, if you're working with older students, the paragraphs that we have in the student readers. If you're working with younger kids, in addition to what we have, you can also use phonetically controlled, like the SRA Basic Reading series. But part 9, it has to be controlled to be passages that contain what's been taught so far. And you're going to work on their fluency and their comprehension. In part 10, you read to them. That's where you're doing the reading to them. And this is with literature, newspaper if you're working with adults. In our situation, where we have an ideal situation at the Learning Center, we have an hour-long lesson, and we work one-to-one. In that hour-long lesson, one-to-one, we'll spend 45 minutes with parts 1 through 8. And then the last 15 minutes, we'll either do 9 or 10. So we rotate. Sometimes we end by reading to them, or sometimes we have them read us a controlled passage. Eventually, as you progress through the program, in part 10 of the lesson, the student is going to take turns reading the non-controlled text, because they need practice with applying it to non-controlled text. And so generally that definitely happens from step 6 on. With some students it can happen sooner. If they're not as dyslexic, they can read some non-controlled text. So the first section is the sound cards. And every lesson we start with a sound card drill. And I think of this part as a warm-up. And this part just gets the lesson going. And it's where you're going to work with the sounds each and every day and get the students to be quick and automatic and know those sounds inside and out. And this part, this is where, let's say they're doing the vowels. With the vowels, I always have them do the key words. So if you're my students, say the letter, the key word, and the vowel. And go ahead and do that. Good. Good.
I, itch, it. O, octopus song. You, up.
Good. Eventually, that's just what you want them to do. Do it without you modeling. So eventually, they're going to get to the point where they can do it when you go through the cards. At first, you say it and they repeat. So you would say, A, apple, a.
A, apple, a.
So you say it and they repeat. But eventually, you want to just flip the cards and have them do it. Again, have them use their notebook. We'll say, open your notebook to the vowel page. So that use that notebook. And so when you first get started, always open your notebooks to your vowel page. Let's do your vowels. And then you do your vowels. But their notebook is right there for them to reference. Okay? I always do the vowels in the quick drill, always, as you go through the program. The others, you don't have to do every single letter every time. Be selective and target the ones that they need. So if you know they're working on X or Y, include those trouble spots every time. But then rotate the others, so you don't have to do every one. If you're working on them clipping, then teach them, not ma, but Everybody, Good, excellent. And so you'll have them do it. Now, if they need a key word, then it would be man, Put the key word in the middle. So it's letter, keyword, sound. But if they don't need a keyword, they don't have to say the keyword, but they still say the letter and then the sound. The letter name, then the sound in the quick drill. So what would this be? Don't worry about keyword. Come on, you guys. Good. How about this one? Excellent. Good. That one's tricky. This is the only one that has the keyword at the end, because this one is X. It's almost like a K and an S. Well, it's not almost. It is like a K and an S together. Starts down here K, and ends here. X. And you can hear it at the end of the word fox. Fox. So it's at the end of the keyword. This is the only one that has it at the end of the keyword like that. And that's because you don't want to use a word like xylophone, which I can't believe how many little kid things. I see these cute little phonics things, and then they have xylophone for their keyword for X, always. Okay? So what you're going to do is your quick drill, 2 to 3 minutes. It's a warm-up. It gets the lesson started. I like to, in a group lesson, they're talking the whole thing. Then you say, okay, we're ready to start. Because the lesson, throughout the whole entire lesson, is very interactive, very teacher-directed. So this is kind of like the announcement, okay, we're ready to start. And we're into the lesson. So use it that way as kind of you're announcing we're starting. And it warms them up. And always do your vowels. Other sounds, be selective. New ones, always include the new ones. Trouble spots, rotate for review, and do letter, keyword, sound. We're going to watch this now with Clay. And Clay is an adult that you're going to see. He came to us with a referral from Mass Rehab. And he is a typical, very dyslexic individual. He stayed back in 1st grade and 2nd grade. And then he was referred to special education. He was in special ed until his junior year in high school when he quit. When he was referred to us, he had tested and he had average, a little bit above average IQ on the WAIS, and was reading at the mid-2nd grade level. So what we're going to do is watch him in his first lesson. And the first lesson, I'm just introducing the sounds to him. You saw his pre-test. He didn't know his vowel sounds. First I go through the consonants and I start working on clipping those consonant sounds. So you'll see me helping him do instead of ma. And I knew there were some that he needed keywords for, so we talk about that. Then we work on just introducing the digraphs. And then we start his vowel work. And with his vowel work, I don't expect him to master the vowels in this first lesson, clearly. But my goal in a first lesson when I introduce the vowels is to get them to understand the concept of using the key word. And at first he doesn't get that. He'll say a apple, a. And you'll see him doing that, and he's not really using the key word. And then I get him to understand it's apple, a. And at one point he says, you know, it almost says itself in a way.